Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey is at the city's Traffic Operations Centre discussing the plan to keep traffic moving during extended closures for the Ontario Line construction. Let's listen in.
As part of the Ontario Line construction, and while inconvenient, this transit progress is good news. We are getting on with actually getting needed transit built. This progress has taken time, and it has taken all governments, the city, the province, and the Government of Canada working together. I'm proud as Deputy Mayor and as a member of Toronto Council that we are actually making transit progress, and I'm committed to making sure that progress continues. The Ontario Line is an exciting and critically important expansion to Toronto's public transit network. It will make travel within our city faster and easier by providing a 15-station subway from Exhibition Place through the downtown to the Ontario Science Centre. It will also offer significant relief from crowding within Toronto's existing transit network. But this multi-billion-dollar subway line will take time to build and create disruption. We need to be honest with people about that. There is no transit gain without some transit construction pain. And we'll see that start on Queen Street in May. To accommodate the road closures needed to build the new Queen Street station, all vehicles, including TTC streetcars, will be diverted around the area. This closure will allow construction to be completed safely and effectively and allow Metrolinx to reopen the area sooner than if partial closures were used. To prepare for this and other road closures that will be needed to construct the Ontario Line, the city is working collaboratively with Metrolinx. We are working with contractors and the TTC to ensure that traffic congestion and construction impacts are reduced as much as possible. Staff are carefully reviewing all road restrictions and alternative routes that will be available to people traveling in the area. A multitude of traffic management measures are being utilized to proactively plan for increases in traffic volumes and congestion. These include the people sitting behind me, the Road Emergency Services Communications Unit known as Rescue. These operators are actively monitoring traffic cameras 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, particularly in congestion hotspots, and providing real-time problem solving. The city has also installed 59 smart traffic signals since 2020 and aims to install 30 more this year, including along Lakeshore Boulevard in support of the upcoming construction work for Ontario Line. These smart traffic signals automatically adjust signal timing based on actual traffic demand and respond in real time to varying volumes and traffic patterns. The Intelligent Intersections program is improving the safety of pedestrians and people cycling by using a set of technologies to provide high-level, real-time data, giving city staff more information to implement effective signal timing strategies that keep traffic moving. 30 intersections have been outfitted so far, and we're adding an additional 80 intersections this year. Traffic agents are also being deployed where they are needed most during the morning and afternoon rush hours to actively manage the movement of all road users, which will reduce delays and improve safety. Hiring more traffic agents was part of the 2023 budget, and we know they make a real difference on our roads. Construction hub coordinators are also providing a high level of oversight and coordination between work sites and high-volume construction areas, including both capital and private development. These coordinators are a single point of contact for stakeholders and conduct logistical planning of the right-of-way, ensuring that impacts and changes are clearly communicated. But we know we have to do even more to help keep Toronto moving. New this year, the city is also launching priority travel routes. These are stretches of roads that will be kept clear of as many restrictions as possible, so people will be able to get around construction zones as quickly as possible. Dundas Street, from Jarvis Street to Bathurst Street, has been identified as our first priority travel route. A priority travel route is basically a no-fly zone for road and utility construction and other lane closures. Only emergency work will be allowed along this stretch of roadway. On-street parking will be restricted, and Cafe TO curb lanes will not be installed to ensure that it is kept clear of as many potential delays as possible, allowing travelers to get through the downtown. More priority travel routes will be identified as Ontario Line and other construction projects move forward. This is about common sense. If we have major routes blocked, then we need to do all we can to keep other major routes open and flowing freely. That helps drivers, but it also helps cyclists and transit passengers traveling on buses and streetcars. We all need to get around. Also coming soon is an advanced transit signal priority pilot, which will improve transit travel times by detecting buses running behind schedule and extending green traffic light times when necessary. This program will be critical during construction in minimizing delays for transit riders. The city and the TTC are actively working to make this program successful, and once completed, will activate the system on a route that has 10 signalized intersections. As a city, we recognize the vital need for transit expansion while balancing the public and business need to travel in and around downtown. If you're going to be traveling downtown, I encourage you to plan ahead and give yourself plenty of time. If you can, please consider alternate options to driving. It will help you and it will help those that have to drive. And make sure you follow signage and rules of the road to keep yourself and others safe. And I will now hand it over to Barbara Gray, the General Manager of Transportation Services, to provide more details.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Traffic Management Center. I am thrilled to be speaking with you today on this bright, sunny day, because the last time I saw you, it was not bright and sunny. It was quite cold and snowy. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for joining us here today. We know we have a lot of construction ahead. We're talking today about the beginning of the Ontario Line major construction and the traffic detours and the congestion that is likely an outcome of that. And we wanted to assure the public that we're doing everything we can to plan ahead and problem solve in real time construction impacts. The Deputy Mayor spoke about a new traffic management tool that we're deploying this year called Priority Travel Routes. And the concept here is that the routes will be kept clear of as many lane restrictions as possible to reduce delays and ensure that there are alternative and parallel routes for people to get around construction zones in downtown. That includes limiting other construction, projects on these routes to only emergency repairs, temporarily adjusting or removing on-street parking, suspending or canceling permits, and deferring requested road closures for things like street events. So starting on May 1st until the summer of 2024, all of these changes will come into effect on Dundas Street between Jarvis and Bathurst. As early as last October, staff began discussing these changes and the feasibility of completing planned utility work along this stretch of roadway with the Toronto Public Utility Coordinating Committee, which is a group of utility entities that we meet with on a regular basis. So staff are working with construction industry leaders and emergency service providers to identify ideal priority routes and pinch points, and are also reviewing traffic amendments to improve traffic flow. In addition, we're carefully reviewing the use of roads to support street events. Safety is our top priority when deciding which roads to close for events, and traffic flow is an important part of that consideration. Staff work closely with event organizers to assess event needs, such as accessibility, and consider the impact closures will have on nearby neighborhoods and businesses. We are striving to minimize traffic congestion as much as possible, but acknowledge that the high volume of construction, both public and private development, mixed with growing traffic volumes and important events, does lead to delay. We will continue to use the effective traffic management strategies outlined in the city's Move TO Congestion Management Action Plan. The 5 main actions there include installing smart traffic signals, which the Deputy Mayor spoke about, intelligent intersections, advancing transit signal priority, expanding the construction hub program, and developing a transportation demand strategy that is built on the existing smart commute program. Many of these that the Deputy Mayor spoke about earlier, we look forward to continuing to advance to help manage congestion and build a more resilient and safe transportation system. Staff are working closely with contractors in assessing all construction permit applications and their related traffic management plans to minimize the overall disruption caused by construction as much as possible. This review process includes ensuring the plans promote safety of people traveling in the area regardless of what mode they choose, also reducing noise and parking impacts as much much as possible, and modifying traffic signals to allow for efficient traffic flow. We are also deploying paid duty officers as well as our traffic agents to regulate and direct traffic, maintain access to properties, and identify key site access points and haul routes for construction vehicles. All of these actions are supported by data and technology. It's not possible to be everywhere and see everything that travelers are experiencing, but we are bridging this gap by using our smart signals that automatically adjust to keep traffic moving and Bluetooth technology to monitor travel time so we have a good indication of where there are challenges. We are prepared for construction, increased traffic volumes, and the associated congestion, and are all committed to doing everything we can to help road users get around the city as safely as possible. That said, I do want to echo the Deputy Mayor's statement that if you're driving downtown, please give yourself extra time, consider taking transit, walking, and cycling, and please follow the signage that's posted there to keep yourself and others safe. Thank you very much, and we're happy to take questions.
For the Deputy Mayor.
Yep.
Mayor, do you have any plans to move or distribute services or offer online services to city halls so that people do not have to go to city hall? And is there any initiative to sort of tell businesses in the area, please have your employees work from home? We sort of don't want people in that general area to ease congestion. Any plans for that?
Well, we want people to come back into the downtown core, but our preference is that they're doing that by transit. We do have across the city, many different companies still have work from home hybrid options. So while we're not encouraging that as a way to avoid the downtown, I think it's already happening in many companies, but we want to see people back.
Deputy Mayor, it sounds like a lot of words to say everybody knows traffic right now is really bad. There's an election on and all the candidates are saying traffic is terrible and I'm going to fix it and it's going to get worse, but there's going to be long-term transit pain. Like, how much pain should people expect as a result of this construction?
Well, we have a lot of great things happening in the city, but as you say, it does lead to inconveniences. We're building unprecedented transit right now, infrastructure construction's underway, residential construction, but we are doing everything we can to mitigate the additional traffic impacts that leads to, and that includes traffic agents, and we'll be announcing more about that soon, smart traffic signals, advanced transit signal priority pilots, but we're also encouraging people to take transit, ride their bikes, walk, and we all have a role to play in ensuring that we can get through this as effectively and quickly as possible.
Is there any modeling or anything that says how much of a delay, especially these two big intersection closures, are going to, if somebody was driving across downtown, how long it's going to take extra because of it?
So modeling is very technical, so I will pass that over to Barbara Gray if she has any answers around that.
Thank you. We did do modeling, and Metrolinx did modeling as well to look at the delay. I don't have the information in front of me right now, Dave, but we can certainly get that for you. But the modeling that we're doing is also looking at sort of a broader area of the downtown, and it's pretty fine-tuned, so it gives us the ability to understand how changes that we make in closures are going to affect parallel routes. So it's network-based, as you probably know. And so, yes, we did look at that. And I just would echo what the Deputy Mayor said. Yeah, it is a lot of words, but there's also a lot of pre-planning that has gone into having the technology in place. When we came forward with the Move TO plan a couple of years ago, we started at that point knowing that construction was going to continue to be a big deal. This was before COVID happened. And I think the other thing that's pretty significant is we have a lot of people who are excited to come back to events downtown. We had over 250 events downtown last year, and so we want people to come back to downtown, as the Deputy Mayor said. We want people to be excited about coming to events. The transit's excellent. Please take it. Walking and cycling in the downtown is getting more and more accessible all the time, but there are still huge volumes of people who want to be in a very confined area. And next week we'll also be talking a little bit more about some other work that we're doing specifically around event zones to help to manage the surges of people that are coming in and out of the event zones.
So Barbara, how would you describe the congestion now in the city compared to all the years you've been doing this, and how is it going to be when we're in the thick of this construction?
So I think the congestion is sort of has continued to progress around all of the activity that has come back post-COVID. It's been a strange 6 years for somebody in my position to have such a bustling city when I first arrived here with lots of congestion and not as many tools as we have today. And then during COVID, when there was basically no congestion and we were able to try to advance advance some other projects and get some major work out of the way at that time. But the amount of development and the amount of activity that the city attracts is still significant, and even more so post-COVID. So I would say the congestion is commensurate with that. It's certainly significant. There are times of the day and days of the week that are really quite congested, and again, people should give themselves extra time if they want to be driving in the downtown. But we have many, many more tools at our fingertips to help address and alleviate sort of the spot congestion issues that are happening. The smart signals is one tool, the ability to have signal timing that we can adjust on the fly, the fact that we've had people who are now trained to be able to monitor those systems from a variety of work locations and do that during peak hours, which may be, like last night's game was peak hour was 10 p.m. So really having that kind of facile system, we have to be nimble and be able to adjust. I think that's the big change that I've seen, is we're more able to do that now.
Are you looking at any other priority routes south of Queen, like say King, for example?
Well, King is a priority transit route, so continuing to preserve that as a priority transit route. It travel has lots and lots of transit riders that use that corridor and rely on it. Dundas will be first. There's a number of construction projects that are underway, so you will see this shift over time. Right now, the Dundas priority travel route will be in place through 2024. I forget which quarter of 2024. Yeah, through 2024. And then we'll continue to look and monitor. If we have to add others, we will add others.
And I know this is happening at a time when, as you say, there's a lot of events going on, and there's the summer coming, there's Cafe TO. How concerned, and maybe this is a question for the Deputy Mayor, how concerned are you about the effect of this on tourism, especially when we're trying to get more tourists back into the city of Toronto?
Well, as Barbara mentioned, I'm confident we have an excellent public transit system in the city of Toronto. We're expanding bike share and our cycling network, and really encouraging people to also walk in our great city. So I think there's different modes to get around. There will be people that will need to continue to drive. We're just asking them to plan for the delays, follow the signage, plan your route ahead, and maybe look at the time that you're coming in and out of the core, and if you can adjust that to help with traffic as well.
Do you think this will stop people from coming in, like the tourists that we're trying to attract back? Do you think this will?
I don't think this is going to deter tourism at all. I think people really want to get back out there. We've seen that the last few nights. We've seen that at the Blue Jay game, full house. We've seen people out in Jurassic Park last evening. So everybody is really excited to be back into this vibrant city that we have. And we're doing everything we can to be proactive to manage the impacts that we know we will have with construction. And I said it earlier, it's construction pain for traffic gain. Sorry, transit gain. There we go. One liner and I blew it, right? There we go.
Can I just start following on the priority lanes? It seems to me in Toronto that people like to blame bike lanes for any amount of congestion, even though there's many lanes in downtown eaten up by condo construction for years. And I see the applications come to committee. It says, we thought we were going to need it for 2 years. We need it for another 2 years. And it almost always seems to get approved. Like, I'm just wondering, you've got these lanes, but traffic kind of affects all the area. Is there any thought to like slowing that down, or saying we just can't, you're going to have to figure something else out?
We have ambitious plans to expand our cycling network. We're looking to add 100 additional kilometers. The more we grow the network, the more people will use it, and that means less cars on the road. We know that with our Transform TO plan, our plan to be net zero by 2040, we're looking to have the majority of trips under 5 kilometers done by public transit, by walking, or by cycling. That is only going to happen if we provide the infrastructure for that. So it's not either or, it's both. We need to expand our cycling network, we need to expand our public transit network, and we need to encourage people to do both.
Can I ask Barbara just about the condo lane closures, because it just seems to be rampant?
Well, I think part of the, one of the things that makes Toronto great is that we do have a lot of zero lot line buildings, right, where the building gets built right to the lot line and it creates a nice street wall and there's good public infrastructure related to it. But in order to build a building like that, and we are attracting construction, residential construction, quite tall, like 88 stories. So if you're going to build a building like that, you have to take the entire site. You have to go down quite a bit to build the foundations, et cetera. And it does take quite a while to build them. We are very cognizant that in many busy areas of the city, the lane closures that come along with these large buildings are significant. They create pinch points that make it very challenging for people on that particular block, which is why we bring the reports back on a more frequent basis. We also audit those sites so that we don't want the contractors parking their vehicles there. They have to be used for active construction. And so we do have our transportation standards officers who routinely monitor those construction sites. And when they are no longer being used for active construction, they require the contractors to get out of there. We're also looking at some other options. Our work zone team, our construction hub team, is looking at some other options to be able to have the developers and the contractors build those so that they can be plated over, especially in particularly busy times and at specific pinch points. So there are some things that we can do, but effectively, if you're building a building that tall, it's probably going to take a number of years to do, and you can't do all of it on the site.
Are there some developers that you catch who are just saying it's cost of business even if we have to pay the city, and maybe we'll need this space later, so we're just going to sit on it for a while?
See, but that's where the audits come in, because we really do have to be on top of it. We really have to be out there making sure that those sites are being used appropriately, and if they're not being used appropriately, then that's one of the great values of having this construction hub program, is that hub coordinator is a single point of contact. They know their area. They know all the contractors in that area. They meet on a regular basis to schedule, and they ask them those difficult questions. What are you using the space for? Because we need to return it back to the public.
Perhaps I'm misinterpreting this, but what I'm understanding is that the cost of business means that traffic suffers at the cost of business. If I remember about 6 years ago, Mayor Tory had a plan to institute increased rates for usage of lanes for construction projects, and there was also going to be a push to limit buildings to construction within their core, within their development zone. That doesn't seem to have happened. So is there a response for that?
You have a good memory, by the way. We just did increase the fines, and we especially increased them in the hubs, right? The areas that are along, mostly they track along the Ontario line construction, but because those developers do have a higher level of oversight and also a higher level of support in terms of managing across the multiple job sites in the area. They do have the oversight of the construction hub coordinator, but also that is a relationship that they have to, try to make as streamlined as possible the work that they're doing on their site. So they do pay a higher fee if their project is within that hub. So we did look at that. We will continue to look at our fees, and we'll be coming back in 2024 with some proposed updates as well.
One more question, if I may. Maybe this is for the Deputy Mayor. Deputy Mayor, you're asking commuters not to come into this, or at least use other means of transit within the city, whether it's bicycles, public transit, etc. What happens to those businesses that are inflexible? For example, couriers, delivery companies, services that are important. Because you do have people coming into the city who say, well, I only go in once a week. I'm not adding that much traffic. Yet, if half the population of Cambridge does that, or wherever, that's a significant inflow into the city from outside regions. What do you tell those people?
Well, you're right. There are people that need to drive into the city for business, for work. It is part of what they do. And for the rest of us, we have a great commuter system in our city and beyond. And the GO train is a great way to travel into the city. TTC is a great way to travel in the city. And we all need to use transit a little bit more as we move forward with these major construction projects that will create better transit for the future.
And last question for you. How confident are you that these projects will run to schedule?
So these projects are being delivered by Metrolinx. We're working very closely with them. What you're seeing today is an announcement about the proactive measures that we have, recognizing that there will be increased congestion from these projects. So we're all working really well together, and we want to stay on time, on schedule. The city has a transit expansion office that is dedicated to doing all the coordinating work that Metrolinx needs in terms of permits and things like that within the city. So we need transit. We need it open as soon as possible, and I'm confident that we're all working really well together on this important project.
So You don't anticipate any extended projects, nothing going beyond the anticipated schedule this time?
So the closure that we're talking about today is scheduled to 2027, and we're all going to work really, really hard to ensure that we're reopening Queen Street back up in 2027.
Can I just ask what's being done to preserve cyclist and pedestrian access through the closure zone?
Yes, that was probably best handled by Barbara.
Thanks. So we, the work zone coordinators who are responsible for looking at the impacts to the right-of-way for each construction site, we've recently been doing an update of our protocols, not only for cyclists and pedestrians, but also for people with accessibility issues. And so really trying to make sure that we have the top-notch equipment in place, so ramping and cane detectable sideboards, and making sure that there's adequate lighting and access, that the contractors are being held to a high standard in terms of cleanliness. So for cyclists, that means that the lanes are swept and clean. It's sweeping season again, so our street sweepers are out on the regular, and when there are locations where there's a specific amount of dust, et cetera, we try to send them out there overnight as quickly as we can, and really trying to just, again, have eyes on the street so that when something happens unexpected, because construction does not always go according to plan, I think as everybody knows, that there is somebody out there to address it promptly. And whether that is a concern that we get from someone in the walking or cycling, or it's an adjacent business who may have found that there's a barricade that isn't in the place where they had expected it to be, and it's impacting access to their site, we need somebody out there to move it right away. So when things go wrong, we have to have the capacity to be able to fix it quickly.
Can I just ask Deputy Mayor, just following on the question about delays, given the recent council meeting where City Council had extremely tough words for Metrolinx and all the delays relating to the Eglinton Crosstown, how can you have any optimism that they'll keep, if you look back at that and you look forward, why would you have any optimism that they'll be able to hit the mark?
So I don't know where that project, the origin of that and the delays that happened there. But what I am confident in is how well we are all currently working together on the Ontario line. There are regular meetings between the Office of the Mayor, the Minister of Transportation. Metrolinx is working very closely with TTC and with our city staff. So really all the different partners have a really good working relationship. I think we all want to make sure that as soon as there's any glitches that are identified, we're working to resolve those. And today certainly was the first tranche of what you see on that proactive management of traffic congestion that we think we'll see from road closures ahead. Okay, thank you.